Hey guys, and welcome back to Outdoor Science. And so we are going on into the next lesson, investigating substances. So a couple things I want you to remember. Initially, we're looking at our unit question is how do new substances form? So that's our overall arching theme for this entire unit. Our chapter one question is what is the reddish brown substance in the water? So remember, we had some samples a couple weeks ago, and we had the water from the pipes. And if you remember, that kind of had that rust color kind of look that we were kind of looking at. If you've ever lived like in the South, down in Florida or Georgia, Mississippi, they have red clay, and that's kind of at that rust color. And then we also had a sample of our well water. And that just kind of looks like just regular well water or just even regular water from the pipes. Okay. And so we also had an opportunity of kind of looking at a couple of different samples. And so we looked at our reddish brown substance, and that was a sample, if you remember. She had collected some samples from some of the different areas. We also had our pipe substance, and just kind of looking at what some of those different things look like inside of there. And if you remember, we took some observations about that one. And then we also had our fertilizer. And so remember, the water was evaporated out of there, and we just had just the substance was left over. Okay. So we're going to be looking more closely at those today. Some of the key concepts that we have so far is we're going to learn today about different substances have different properties. And then our vocabulary word, of course, is the word property. A couple things that I also want to kind of go back over from the last time that we met. We talked about what observations were. Remember, observations are what do I see? We also talked about what is it that I smell, and some things of just kind of what do I wonder. And we kind of led into those with talking about making some observations of our two main samples that we had. And we looked at our well water, and we talked about that it was clear liquid and it smells like salt water, and that, of course, it was wet. And then we talked about our water, our water from the pipes. And we talked about that it was reddish brown. And if you remember, Tanner was here with us, and Tanner talked a little bit about some of that. And he said it looked dirtier than the dirt water. Looks like blood. That gave that rust color. It smells like dirt water. Not quite sure what that's supposed to smell like, but apparently it did to him. And then we noticed that there was some solid at the bottom. So it wasn't just straight liquid. There was actually some things kind of at the bottom of it. We also did some observations of our main samples, and some observations that we made. We talked about with the pipe substance, and that's this one right here. Okay. We talked about it looks like seeds or maybe pencil lead shavings, that it's hard, and it has the color was kind of a blackish brown gray. So I'm kind of looking at some of those different properties of that particular substance. Next one we looked at was the fertilizer, and we looked at some different observations or recorded some different observations, and they were crystal-like. I think we were talking, Tanner said it kind of reminded him of salt. And so that was kind of what he was looking at there. It was hard, but yet it was kind of soft. And it was also white. And then the last one that we looked at was the reddish brown substance. And it has this one right here. Tanner said it felt like it was Play-Doh, so he said it was really, really, really soft. Okay. And then, of course, it was kind of reddish brown in color. Okay. And so that kind of leads us into what we're doing this next go around. And so looking at our investigation question. So our investigation question remains the same also throughout the unit. And we want to know how can we tell one substance from another? And that is kind of what we're going to be doing today. And again, this is another one of those ones where I really hate the fact that we're not in a classroom being able to do this one together today. And so with that, we kind of looked at our chapter one questions. Remember, our whole goal is to identify the mysterious reddish brown substance and determine whether it is the same or the different from the other two substances mentioned in our claims. And you guys had to state an initial claim and kind of a prediction of what was going on. And so some of those claims that we had. You had 3 claims that you were to choose from, and we did this on the flip grid activity. And so the question was, what is the reddish-brown substance in the water? And I think this is what we were talking about, is that reddish-brown substance in the water. What is it? And so the first claim that you had to choose from was the reddish-brown substance is the same as the substance that makes up the pipes. So claim 2 was the reddish-brown substance is the same substance as the fertilizer. And then the last claim was that you had to choose from was the reddish-brown substance is not the same as either the fertilizer or the substance that makes up the pipes. So you could make the assumption that you think it was maybe actually something else. All right. And so, like I said, with our investigation question, how can we tell one substance from another? And so people of Westfield need your help in identifying the reddish-brown substance that is coming out of their water pipes. However, the reddish-brown substance isn't the only substance involved in this problem. Claim 1 suggests that the reddish-brown substance is the same as the substance that makes up the pipes. Claim 2 suggests that the reddish-brown substance is the same substance as the fertilizer that Dr. Young discovered in the well. And then finally, Claim 3 states that the reddish-brown substance is different substances altogether. In order to choose between the 3 claims, you're going to need to know how to tell the substances apart. Okay? And so initially, obviously, you were supposed to work in groups of 4. And, with our group, I probably would have been like a group of 2, or maybe we just been doing it by ourselves anyways. Okay. A couple things about safety, just to remind you, if we were in the classroom, there's a lot of things that we would have to be safe. One is I'm wearing my goggles today over my glasses to keep safe today. So just in case there's any reaction with the chemicals that I'm using. It kind of was trying to start to rain. In fact, the clouds over there are kind of rolling in a little bit. So, just in case. So I did put my umbrella up on my deck so that just in case we get some rain, we don't get anything too crazy. The other thing with safety is I'm going to be wearing some gloves as I walk through the different substances. I'm also not going to taste the substances. I'm not going to drink the different things that are going on. And then when I open up the opportunity of working with the samples and I go through and I do some smell tests, I'm going to use the waft procedure and make sure that I'm gently kind of bringing it in. I'm not going to open it up and inhale. So there are some safety procedures that you do have to kind of watch for, even as with the adults. All right. And so again, we're going to be looking at some different substances, and I'm going to actually model kind of what I want you guys to be able to do. And so I'm going to go ahead and grab 2 substances, and I'm going to observe each of the different properties of some of the substances that I have. So I've got these 2 substances, and when I'm talking about the properties, some different things that I could talk about is I can talk about its color. I can talk about its shape. I can talk about its size. I can talk about kind of like its chemical makeup. Is it soft? Is it hard? Is it in pieces? Is it granular, kind of like sugar and salt is? Or is it soft and pebble-like, like sand? Or is it like wood chip piles? So there's some different things that I can look at when I want to look at the different properties. Okay. And so one of the first things I want to do is I want to look at what's some similarities of these substances. Well, these 2 substances right here, as you can kind of hear, there's some noise to them. Okay. They kind of both are kind of like chunky like. And so this one's kind of chunky like, almost like rock granules a little bit. And I don't know if that's the temperature that's kind of messed with them a little bit. And then this one here, it's kind of like wood shavings or kind of like a pencil lead shaving, but it's also made of a solid material. So there's some similarities that I have with those. But of course, not only do I have similarities, but I also have differences between these 2 samples. And so one of those differences I can immediately tell is obvious, the property of color. Okay. The fertilizer is white, and my pipe substance is kind of like a brown, grayish, dark black, however you want to do it, and being able to look at those differences. And so now I can make a prediction about whether or not these 2 samples are the same substance. It's not so much about a prediction, except that, and remember, you're not going to know what your samples are. And so I can, based on my observations, I can predict that these substances are not the same. Okay. Because they have some very different properties. However, I also have the net advantage of knowing that this is a pipe substance, so this was one of my samples, and that this is already the fertilizer. And so when you get a chance to look or view your 4 samples, you're not going to know what they are. In fact, they're labeled sample 1, sample 2, and there's going to be like a sample 4 as well, and a 3. And so you're not even going to know where they're from or what they are like. And that's kind of what we're going to be looking at today. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of do my best as far as looking at these different samples and kind of giving you a little bit of a view of what they are. And so I'm going to go ahead and get my gloves on here. I actually took the gloves out of Tanner's hair kit. We were going to bleach his hair out this week, but he's going to have to wait because I really needed the gloves today. So I have some clear containers that I'm going to kind of pour each of these samples in to kind of give you a little bit of a feel of kind of what's going on. And hopefully you can see it a little bit better. And so I'm kind of looking at, this is sample 4. Okay. And so you'll notice that it kind of actually sticks a little bit. It's really soft. And so when I'm looking at this one, so this is our sample 4. And so when I'm kind of looking at this, notice it's soft, it's kind of powdery. Looking at these different samples, it's white. There's another property that I can add to it. I don't feel like I got a smell to it. And so there's not much there. And so that's my sample 4. It's starting to rain out here. This is going to be awesome. We're working backwards here if you haven't figured it out. And so now we're going to look at sample 3. And so here's sample 3 kind of going in here. Okay. And so sample 3, it's kind of got chunky. To me, it feels like salt maybe, or a sand. It's kind of granular, and it's really light. Going through there, it's also white in sense. And I don't feel like it's got any odor to it at all. Okay, so that's sample 3. Describing its properties. The next sample we're going to look at sample 2. Okay, I'm going to look at sample 2. I can see my posters are falling down, but that's okay, right? So here is sample 2. Sample 2 has also got some properties of not similar to sample 3, really. It's also got real light, kind of like sand. But I feel like this is a little different than the other one. It's not quite as chunky. This one I feel like is even softer than the first one. It's real light and airy. Kind of looking through that. I don't feel like it clumps up like the other one did. The other one has actually got some chunks inside the bottom of it. So sample 3 was still kind of chunky. And sample 2 was light. Like just, I don't know. It was just lighter in observation. Okay. And of course it's also white. Go figure, right? And this last one we're going to look at. Okay. As I'm dumping it in there, this is sample 1. Sample 1 is really soft. Ooh, it's super soft. This is more soft than the other one was. You kind of also notice that it's like that number 4. Remember how number 4 stuck to my hands a lot? This one does the same thing. It's almost like if you've ever I don't know, smashed up a charcoal briquette once using a gas grill or in a grill that you're going to grill out. It's kind of like that black, but it's really soft, and it's actually staining my gloves. It's soft like flour. It's not granular, and it's also not chunky. Okay, but it's really, really soft. Okay. This one also does not have a smell, so none of the samples had a smell to them. They were actually all odorless. So you definitely can mark that down. So going back over again, this one right here was sample 4. I'll give you an idea of what that looked like a little bit more. Okay. So right here, sample 3. You can kind of see how it's a little more chunkier than that other one was. This right here was sample 2. So there's no chunks in this one, but they do look similar alike to each other. Okay. And then this one was sample 1. And sample 1, I said you can kind of see how soft it is. Just kind of like purple. Okay. And so what you're going to be doing is recording some observations. And I just want you to do the best that you can. You can use some of the observations and properties that I mentioned in the video, but you're going to be adding your observations onto the handout that I'm going to provide underneath the video link. And so I want you to be able to write down your observations, and you're going to make some reflection based on kind of what we did at this point. And so again, just kind of going back over and looking at this. And so, you know, when we get done with this, hopefully we're going to be able to have some kind of discussion of kind of what's going on within these different samples. And again, going back, I want to know my whole investigation question. Okay. And I'm making those observations best I can. How can we tell one substance from another? All right. So, guys, have a great week. If you've got questions, please ask. And a couple of things that you're going to be doing is you're going to be going into your Amplify Science to do the different activities for 1.3. And so I will post a second video link to kind of show you exactly what it is that I want you to go through and do. You're going to be doing this for the remainder of the week. So today was the video instruction with the observations and looking at investigating substances. You're going to be doing a card sort. You're going to actually do that digitally. You're going to be making some reflections, and then you're going to have a writing portion at the very end of the week. So if you finish it all up today, great. And if not, you have until Friday to get everything done. So if you have questions, again, please ask, and I'll see you next time.